On a Tuesday afternoon in May, I found a hidden camera inside the smoke detector my granddaughter had installed 3 weeks earlier. Professional grade lens, so small you'd need a magnifying glass to spot it. The device was still recording, streaming everything to someone watching my every move. I'm Clara Bennett. I'm 68 years old. I live alone in Tampa, Florida, in the same house my late husband James and I bought 42 years ago. When I saw that camera lens glinting back at me, I didn't scream. I didn't call the police. I didn't tell a soul. I smiled at it. Then I decided to find out exactly who was watching me and why. If you're listening from somewhere far away, drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this has traveled. And please, stay with me until the end. The smoke detectors had been my granddaughter Aisha's idea. She'd shown up 3 weeks ago on a Saturday morning with a bright orange Home Depot bag and that sweet smile of hers. She was 16, tall and beautiful like her father, my son Michael, had been at that age. Honor roll student, cheerleading captain, the kind of granddaughter who still hugged you tight and meant it. "Grandma Clara," she'd said, setting the bag on my kitchen counter, "these old smoke detectors are dangerous. They don't even connect to your phone. What if there's a fire when you're sleeping?" I'd been making my coffee the same way I'd made it every morning for 40 years. 2 sugars, a splash of cream. James used to say I made the best coffee in Tampa. That was back when he was still here. Back when this house didn't feel so empty. "Baby," I'd said, "I've lived in this house since before you were born. These detectors have worked just fine." "But Grandma," Aisha had pulled out one of those sleek white devices. "These are smart detectors. They send alerts to your phone. Mom said it's important. For my peace of mind?" That's when I should have asked more questions. Because my daughter Jennifer wasn't with her. Jennifer had sent Aisha alone. At the time, I thought she was just being thoughtful. Jennifer had been so helpful lately. Too helpful, if I'm being honest. But Aisha had those earnest eyes, and I could never say no to my grandbaby. "All right," I'd said. "Show me how they work." It took her about an hour to install all 4 of them. 1 in my bedroom, 1 in the kitchen, 1 in the living room, 1 in the bathroom. She'd even demonstrated the app on my phone afterward, showed me how I'd get alerts if smoke was detected anywhere in the house. "Thank you, baby," I'd said, pulling her into a hug. "That's very thoughtful of you." She'd squeezed me back, tight like she used to when she was small. "I love you, Grandma Clara." "I love you too, sweetheart." I hadn't thought about those smoke detectors again. Not until 3 weeks later when I was standing on my stepladder, reaching up to change the light bulb in my bedroom ceiling fixture, and my eyes happened to drift toward that detector mounted near my closet door. Something glinted, just a tiny flash of light, barely visible in the afternoon sun coming through my blinds. Most people wouldn't have noticed, but I wasn't most people. I'd spent 40 years at First National Bank in their fraud investigation division. Started as a teller in 1982, worked my way up to senior investigator by 1995. I'd tracked wire transfers that shouldn't exist. I'd found discrepancies in ledgers that other people missed. I'd caught employees who thought they were smarter than the system, who thought an old black woman wouldn't notice their schemes. I was never the smartest person in the room, but I was always the one who paid attention. I climbed down from that ladder slowly, each step deliberate. Went to my kitchen, made myself a fresh cup of coffee, sat down at the table where James and I used to have breakfast together every morning for 43 years, and I thought about what I'd seen. Could have been nothing. A reflection from my watch, maybe. A trick of the light through the blinds. But my gut said otherwise, and 40 years of catching fraud had taught me to trust my gut. That night I waited until 11 o'clock. That's when I'd normally be asleep. Lights off, house quiet. Instead, I turned off all the lights and sat in the darkness of my living room for 15 minutes, letting whoever was watching think I'd gone to bed. Then I crept to my bedroom with a flashlight and the magnifying glass I kept in my desk drawer, the same magnifying glass I'd used at the bank to examine signatures on fraudulent checks. I climbed that ladder again in the darkness, held the magnifying glass up to the smoke detector, shined the flashlight at an angle, the way I used to examine documents for watermarks and hidden details. There it was, a camera lens, pinhole size, hidden behind a tiny section of the plastic housing that had been modified to look like part of the original design. Professional work. Not something a 16-year-old girl could do, not something you could buy at Home Depot. My heart didn't race. It went cold. Still, like ice forming on a pond in winter. I climbed down without making a sound, walked to the living room in the darkness, checked that detector too. Another lens, kitchen, another, bathroom, another. 4 cameras, 4 rooms. Someone had been watching everything I did in my own home for 3 weeks. I sat down in James's recliner, the one I'd kept exactly as he left it, and I stared at the ceiling. Not at the camera. Not yet. I wasn't ready to let them know I knew. Aisha had installed these. My sweet grandbaby who made honor roll and hugged me tight. But Aisha was 16. She didn't have money for professional surveillance equipment. She didn't know how to modify smoke detector housings to hide cameras. Someone had given her these devices. Someone had told her what to say. Someone had used my granddaughter to spy on me. Aisha lived with my daughter Jennifer in a gated community 20 minutes away. Jennifer Hayes, 42 years old, my only daughter. She'd been married to my son Michael for 18 years before he enlisted in the Navy. Now Michael was deployed overseas, somewhere he couldn't tell us about, and Jennifer was raising Aisha alone. Or that's what I'd thought. Jennifer had been visiting more often lately. I thought she was being caring, thoughtful, a good daughter checking on her elderly mother. Now I was remembering things differently. January, she'd organized my medicine cabinet, said she wanted to make sure I wasn't taking expired pills. She'd spent an hour photographing every label with her phone. Just in case you forget what you're supposed to take, she'd said. February, she'd helped me set up online banking, sat right next to me at this kitchen table while I created passwords. Mom, you need to be able to pay your bills online, she'd insisted. What if you can't get to the bank? March, she'd taken my laptop for a weekend, said it had viruses, that it was running slow, that Aisha could clean it up. When she returned it 3 days later, my browser history was completely wiped. April, she'd driven me to my annual physical with Dr. Morrison. I hadn't asked her to come, but she'd insisted. Sat right there in the examination room while the doctor asked his questions. Mrs. Bennett, how's your memory been? Dr. Morrison had asked. Just fine, doctor. She forgot to take her blood pressure medication twice last week, Jennifer had interrupted. I did not. Mom, you just don't remember. That's the problem. Dr. Morrison had made notes, concerned notes. I'd seen the look on his face. Now, sitting in the darkness of my living room at 11:30 at night, I could see the pattern, clear as numbers in a ledger that don't add up. Jennifer wasn't helping me. She was building a case that I was declining, that I was forgetful, that I couldn't be trusted to manage my own affairs, that I needed someone to make decisions for me. But why? I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I did what I'd done for 40 years when I suspected fraud. I made a list. I documented everything. On a yellow legal pad, the same kind I'd used at the bank, I wrote down every interaction I'd had with Jennifer in the past 6 months. Every visit, every phone call, every helpful gesture. By 3 in the morning, I had 6 pages of notes. By 4, I had a theory. By 5, I knew I needed more information before I confronted anyone. So I did what any good investigator does. I watched. I waited. I gathered evidence. The next morning, I woke up at my usual time, 6:30, made my coffee, got dressed in my bedroom, making sure to smile at that camera while I did. Good morning, I said cheerfully to the smoke detector. What a beautiful day. I'm so grateful for my health and my sharp mind. Let them hear that. Let them know I was still competent. I made myself a breakfast of scrambled eggs and toast, sat at my kitchen table and did the crossword puzzle from the Tampa Bay Times. Finished it in 23 minutes, which was pretty good for a Tuesday puzzle. Then I stood up, looked directly at the kitchen camera, and said loud and clear, I'm going to balance my checkbook now. Got to make sure all my finances are in order. I spent the next hour at my desk, deliberately working on my financial records where the camera could see, making sure whoever was watching knew that my mind was sharp, that I was capable, that I was not the confused old woman they were trying to paint me as. At 10 o'clock, my phone rang. Jennifer. Hey, Mom. Her voice was bright, too bright. How are you feeling today? I'm feeling wonderful, baby. Just finished the crossword, balanced my checkbook, and I'm about to work in the garden. There was a pause, a slight hesitation. That's great, Mom. Listen, I was thinking of stopping by tomorrow. I have some insurance paperwork, just routine stuff that needs your signature. Insurance paperwork, right. Sure, baby. Come by whenever you like. How about 2 o'clock? 2 o'clock is perfect. I'll make us some sweet tea. After I hung up, I sat very still. Insurance paperwork. She was making her move. Whatever she was planning, it was happening soon. I needed to know exactly what I was up against. My neighbor, Harold Mitchell, lived 3 doors down. He was 72, a retired IT manager, and gloriously paranoid about technology in a way that was suddenly very useful to me. I walked over to his house that afternoon, carrying a plate of the peach cobbler I'd made that morning. "Harold," I said when he opened the door, "I need to borrow your computer. Mine's acting strange, and I don't want anyone to know I'm looking into it." Harold had known me for 30 years. He knew I wasn't the type to ask for favors unless something was seriously wrong. "Come on in, Clara," he said, stepping aside. He led me to his cluttered home office and left me alone. I spent the next 3 hours researching everything I could find about hidden cameras, surveillance equipment, and elder financial abuse. I learned about spyware, about remote access software, about how easy it was for someone with physical access to your devices to monitor everything you did. Then I learned about something that made my blood run even colder: guardianship fraud. Adult guardianship was supposed to protect vulnerable elderly people who couldn't make decisions for themselves. But I read case after case of families using false claims of incompetence to gain control of their elderly relatives' assets, of nursing homes that cost $15,000 a month, of houses sold without consent, of life savings drained to nothing. I read about the warning signs. Family member suddenly very helpful with finances, organizing medical appointments and answering for the elderly person, isolating the elderly person from other family members, building a paper trail of evidence of incompetence. Every single warning sign matched what Jennifer had been doing. Finally, I searched for something specific: my name plus Florida plus public records. And there it was, filed 2 weeks ago with the Hillsborough County Clerk's Office. A petition for emergency guardianship over Clara Louise Bennett, citing cognitive decline and inability to manage personal affairs. Petitioner, Jennifer Marie Hayes, daughter. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the mouse to print the document. 23 pages. I printed every single one. The petition claimed I'd shown signs of dementia, that I'd been found wandering confused in my neighborhood, that I'd missed bill payments, that I'd forgotten to take medication, that my house was in unsafe condition. None of it was true. Not one word. But attached to the petition were statements. Evidence. A statement from Dr. Richard Morrison, the doctor I'd seen once for a sinus infection, not my regular physician. It said I'd appeared confused and disoriented during my visit. I remembered that visit. I'd had a head cold. I'd been congested. But I hadn't been confused. A statement from a neighbor, Gladys Peterson, who lived 2 streets over. Someone I barely knew. She claimed I'd knocked on her door 3 times in 1 week, asking what day it was. That had never happened. I'd never even been to her house. Photographs of my medicine cabinet, the one Jennifer had organized in January. The photos made it look chaotic, but I knew they'd been taken before she reorganized it, not after. Deliberately misleading. A statement from Jennifer herself, detailing incident after incident of my supposed cognitive decline, each one carefully dated, each one completely false. This was fraud, professional-grade fraud, the kind of scheme I'd spent my career investigating. But this time, I wasn't the investigator. I was the victim. I drove home from Harold's house in a daze, pulled into my driveway, sat in my car for 10 minutes just breathing. My daughter was trying to have me declared incompetent. She was trying to take control of my house, my savings, my life. She'd used my granddaughter to plant cameras so she could monitor whether I suspected anything. But why? Why would Jennifer do this? I thought about the house. James and I had paid it off 15 years ago. It was worth $420,000 now. Beechwood Terrace had become a desirable neighborhood. I thought about my savings, 40 years of careful investing, the pension from First National, the life insurance payout when James died 5 years ago. All told, about $310,000 in various accounts. $730,000 total. That's what I was worth to someone who wanted to control my assets. But Jennifer had a good life, a nice house in that gated community. Aisha went to private school. Jennifer drove a new BMW. Or did she? That evening, I made a phone call I hadn't wanted to make. To Frank Washington, an old colleague from my days at First National. Frank had left the bank years ago to work in the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. He'd retired 3 years back, but we'd stayed in touch. Christmas cards, occasional phone calls. "Frank," I said when he answered, "I need a favor. I need you to run a background check on someone. Nothing official, just between friends." "Clara Bennett." Frank's voice was warm. "I haven't heard from you in 6 months, and now you're asking me to abuse my former federal connections. Must be serious." "It's my daughter, Frank." The warmth left his voice immediately. "Tell me everything." I did. The cameras, the guardianship petition, all of it. "Give me 24 hours, Frank said. "I'll see what I can find." He called back the next morning at 8:15. I was in my kitchen, making coffee, smiling at the camera like I didn't have a care in the world. "Clara," Frank's voice was grim, "you need to sit down." I sat at my kitchen table, the same table where James and I had shared breakfast for 43 years, the same table where Jennifer had helped me set up online banking so she could memorize my passwords. "Your daughter has a problem," Frank said. "A gambling problem. Online poker, sports betting, offshore casino sites. Based on what I can see, she's been at it for about 2 years. Started small, but these things always escalate." I closed my eyes. "How much?" "She owes money to some very serious people, Clara. We're talking about a loan shark operation out of Miami. Guy named Vincent Kane. These aren't the kind of people who send collection letters. They send messages." "Frank." My voice was steady, even though my heart was breaking. "How much does she owe?" "Best I can tell. Around $180,000. Maybe more." The room tilted. $180,000. "Clara? You still there?" "I'm here." I was looking at the smoke detector in my kitchen, at the camera watching me. "Thank you, Frank. I know what I need to do now." "Clara, you need to involve the police. This is elder abuse. This is—" "I will," I said. "But first, I need her to incriminate herself. I need her confession on record." "Be careful." "I've been careful my whole life, Frank. It's time to be smart instead." I spent the rest of that day preparing. I called my attorney, Tom Whitfield. He'd handled James's estate when he passed 5 years ago. I explained the situation, sent him copies of everything I'd found. "Clara," Tom said, "this is serious. We need to file a response to that guardianship petition immediately." "Not yet. She's coming here tomorrow at 2. She's bringing paperwork for me to sign. I need to know what she's really after." "Clara, Tom, I investigated fraud for 40 years. I know what I'm doing. Just be ready. I'll call you when I need you." Next, I left a voicemail for Detective Sarah Washington at the Tampa Police Department's Elder Abuse Unit. Told her I needed to speak with her urgently about a case. Asked her to call me back. Then I recorded a video on my phone. Explained everything. The cameras, the guardianship petition, Jennifer's gambling debts. Saved it with a note. "If anything happens to me, watch this video and contact Detective Washington and attorney Tom Whitfield." I emailed the video to Michael's military address. My son was deployed somewhere in the Pacific. He wouldn't get the email immediately, but if something happened to me, he'd eventually see it. He'd know what his ex-wife had tried to do. Finally, I went to Mount Zion Baptist Church. Found Pastor Ruth Coleman in her office, preparing for Wednesday night Bible study. "Sister Clara," she smiled when she saw me. "What brings you by?" I sat down in the chair across from her desk, and I broke down. For the first time since I'd found those cameras, I let myself cry. Ruth came around the desk, knelt beside my chair, and held my hand while I told her everything. "How did I raise a child capable of this?" I asked when I could speak again. "Where did I go wrong?" "Clara, listen to me." Ruth's voice was firm. "You didn't fail her. She failed herself. She made these choices, not you. But she's going to lose everything. Aisha will lose her mother. And if you do nothing, you lose everything. Aisha loses her grandmother. Michael comes home to find his mother in a nursing home, broke and broken. Is that what you want? No? Then you do what you need to do. You protect yourself. That's not selfish. That's survival." That night I couldn't sleep. I stood at my bedroom window looking out at the street where James and I had lived for 42 years. We'd raised Jennifer in this house. We'd watched her take her first steps in that living room. We'd celebrated her high school graduation in that backyard. We'd been so proud of her. Where had it all gone wrong? I thought about James, about what he'd say if he were here. "Baby," I whispered to the darkness, "I need your strength tomorrow. Our daughter's lost." At midnight, I walked to the cemetery where James was buried, sat on the bench next to his headstone, the one that read, "James Bennett, beloved husband and father, 1945 to 2021. "I'm going to do what you taught me," I told him. "I'm going to stand up for what's right, even when it breaks my heart, even when it costs me my daughter." The night was quiet. No answer except the wind in the trees. But I knew what James would say. I'd known him for 43 years. He'd say, "Clara, you do what's right. Always. No matter what." I sat there until 1 in the morning. Then I went home, climbed into bed, and smiled one more time at that camera in my smoke detector. Tomorrow, Jennifer was coming at 2 o'clock. Tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, I would learn exactly what my daughter had become. Jennifer arrived at exactly 2 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon. I watched through my living room window as her black BMW pulled into my driveway. She sat in the car for a moment, checking her makeup in the rearview mirror, straightening her blouse, taking a breath, like she was preparing for something important. She had no idea how important this was about to become. I opened the door before she could knock. "Hey, baby," I said, smiling. "Come on in. I just made some sweet tea." "Thanks, Mom." She kissed my cheek, and I wondered if she could feel me flinch. "You look good today." "Do I?" I said it casually, but I was testing her, watching her reaction. "Of course you do." But there was something in her eyes, a quick assessment, like she was cataloging my appearance for some purpose. "Maybe a little tired, though. Are you sleeping okay?" "I sleep just fine, Jennifer." We walked to the kitchen. She set her leather briefcase on the table, the same table where she'd helped me set up online banking 3 months ago, the same table where she'd memorized my passwords while pretending to help. I poured us both glasses of sweet tea, sat down across from her. Above us, hidden in the smoke detector, a camera was recording everything. "So," I said, "you mentioned insurance paperwork?" "Right." Jennifer opened her briefcase with practiced efficiency, pulled out a stack of papers in a manila folder. "Just some routine forms that need updating. With Dad gone 5 years now, we need to make sure everything's current." She slid the papers across the table to me. I picked them up slowly, read the first page carefully, the way I used to read documents at the bank when I suspected something wasn't right. These weren't insurance forms. These were power of attorney documents, medical power of attorney, financial power of attorney, giving Jennifer complete control over every aspect of my life. "Jennifer," I said mildly, looking up at her, "this doesn't look like insurance paperwork." She didn't even blink. "Oh, that's just how they format it now. Everything's combined into one packet. It's more efficient this way. Saves time." "I see." I set the papers down, picked up my glass of tea, took a slow sip. "And what exactly would these forms do?" "Just standard stuff, Mom. It means if something happens to you, if you get sick or confused, I can help you. Pay your bills, talk to your doctors, make sure you're taken care of." "But I'm not sick, and I'm not confused." "I know, Mom." Her smile was patient, practiced. "But at your age, things can change quickly. This is just a precaution, a safety net." I picked up the pen she'd brought. One of those expensive pens, probably cost $50, held it over the signature line. Jennifer's eyes followed that pen like a hawk watching a mouse. I set the pen down. "I'd like my lawyer to look at these first," I said, "just to be safe." The change in her face was subtle, but I'd spent 40 years reading faces across desks when people were lying to me. Her smile tightened at the corners. Her jaw clenched for just a fraction of a second. "Mom, there's really no need for that. These are standard forms. Everyone signs them." "Then Tom Whitfield will approve them quickly, and I'll sign tomorrow." "Tom Whitfield?" She stood up suddenly. "Mom, that's unnecessary. He'll just charge you money to tell you what I'm telling you for free." "I don't mind paying him. He handled your father's estate. I trust him." Jennifer walked to my kitchen window, looking out at the backyard where she used to play as a child. Her shoulders were tense. When she turned back to me, her expression had changed. The patient daughter was gone. Something harder had taken her place. "The thing is, Mom, these need to be filed by Friday. There's a deadline. A deadline for what? For the insurance. If we don't file these by Friday, you'll lose your coverage. I knew she was lying. There was no insurance involved. But I needed her to keep talking. I needed her to dig herself deeper. Well then, I said calmly, I'd better call Tom right now and see if he can review them today. I reached for my phone. No. The word came out sharp. Too sharp. She caught herself, softened her tone. I mean, Mom, I really need you to sign these today. It's important. Why, Jennifer? Why is it so important? She walked back to the table, sat down, leaned forward with her hands clasped, and I saw something I'd never seen in my daughter's face before. Desperation. Because I'm trying to protect you, she said. You've been confused lately. Forgetting things. I'm worried about you. I let the silence sit between us, watching her, waiting. Last week, she continued, you called me 3 times asking what day it was. The week before you left the stove on all night. These little things, Mom, they add up. Jennifer, I said quietly, I have never left my stove on all night, and I called you once last week to ask if you were coming to Sunday dinner. You don't remember. That's the problem. That's why you need help. I remember everything, baby. I remember you organizing my medicine cabinet in January, taking photos of all my pill bottles. I remember you setting up my online banking in February, sitting right where you're sitting now watching me type my passwords. I remember you taking my laptop in March saying it had viruses. Her face went pale. I remember you going to the doctor with me in April, I continued. Telling Dr. Morrison that I'd forgotten to take my medication when that wasn't true. I remember Aisha installing those smoke detectors 3 weeks ago. I pointed up at the smoke detector above the kitchen table, and I remember finding the cameras hidden inside them. Jennifer's face went from pale to white, actually white, like all the blood had drained out. What cameras? But her voice shook when she said it. The ones you had Aisha install, professional grade, hidden lenses, streaming everything to your phone for 3 weeks. Did you think I wouldn't notice? Did you think because I'm 68 years old I'm stupid? Mom, I don't know what I have the invoice, Jennifer. You ordered them from a surveillance company in Miami. Secure Watch Solutions, 2847 Biscayne Boulevard. You paid $3,200 for them on March 15th. I have the receipt. That wasn't entirely true. I didn't have the receipt yet. But I needed to see her reaction. She stood up so fast her chair scraped against the floor. You're confused. You're imagining things. This is exactly why you need... I also know about the guardianship petition, I said. The one you filed with the Hillsborough County Clerk's office 2 weeks ago. The one claiming I have dementia. That I wander the neighborhood confused. That I can't manage my own affairs. Jennifer's mouth opened, closed, opened again. No words came out. And I know about Vincent Kane, I said. The loan shark in Miami. The one you owe $180,000 to. She collapsed back into the chair like someone had cut her strings. For a long moment, we just looked at each other. This woman who I'd given birth to, who I'd raised, who I'd loved with everything I had. This stranger sitting at my kitchen table. How did you... she started. I spent 40 years investigating fraud, Jennifer. Did you really think I wouldn't recognize it in my own home? Her face crumpled. Tears started streaming down her cheeks. You don't understand. Mom, you don't understand what they'll do. Who? Vincent's people. They came to my house. They showed Aisha their knives. They said if I didn't pay them, they'd hurt her. They'd hurt my baby. My heart clenched. Despite everything, despite all of it, that got me. You brought gangsters around my granddaughter? I didn't bring them. They found me. I was just trying to win the money back. I was so close and then it all fell apart. And now they want their money and I don't have it and... She was sobbing now. Real ugly sobs. Part of me wanted to go to her, hold her like I did when she was little and had nightmares. But I stayed in my chair. So you decided to destroy me instead? I asked quietly. Put me in a nursing home? Take my house? Take everything your father and I built? You're old, Mom. She looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. You don't need all this space. You'd be comfortable in assisted living. They have nice places with activities and other people your age. But Aisha, she has her whole life ahead of her. If Vincent's people hurt her, so this is about protecting Aisha? Yes. By having me declared incompetent? By stealing my home? It's not stealing. You'd still have money. There'd be enough left over for a good facility, and I'd visit you, and you'd sell my house for $420,000, I said. Drain my savings account of $310,000, $730,000 total. Pay off your gambling debts. Maybe have $50,000 left to put me in some state facility where they change the sheets once a week if I'm lucky. She didn't deny it. She just sat there, crying. How did it start? I asked. The gambling? It was just online poker. After the divorce, I was lonely. I couldn't sleep, and it was something to do. I started winning. God, Mom, I was winning so much. $5,000 one night, $10,000 the next. I thought I could make enough to send Aisha to any college she wanted, to not have to worry about money. But you didn't stop when you were ahead. I thought I could win it back. Every time I lost, I thought the next hand would be the one, the next bet, the next game. And then I wasn't betting with my money anymore. I was betting with Vincent's money. And Vincent doesn't forget debts. How long have you known about the guardianship petition? I asked. 2 months. Vincent suggested it. He has lawyers who do this all the time. Elder guardianship cases. They said it was easy, that judges rubber stamp them if the paperwork looks good. And you thought I'd never find out. I thought you'd be safe. I thought... The doorbell rang. We both froze. Jennifer looked at me with sudden panic in her eyes. Are you expecting someone? No, I lied, but my heart was pounding. The doorbell rang again. Then someone knocked. Hard. Aggressive. Jennifer Hayes! A man's voice loud through the door. Open up. We know you're in there. Jennifer's face went from white to gray. Oh, God. Oh, God, no. Who is that? I asked, even though I knew. Vincent. Her voice was barely a whisper. He must have been tracking my phone. I went to the door. Jennifer grabbed my arm. Mom, don't. Please don't open it. This is my house, I said. I decide who comes in. I opened the door. 3 men stood on my porch. The one in front was about 45, wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than my monthly pension. His hair was slicked back, his smile was cold, and his eyes were the eyes of a shark. Mrs. Bennett, he said, his voice smooth as oil. I'm Vincent Kane. I apologize for the intrusion. May I come in? No, he laughed. I like you already. Jennifer inside? My daughter and I are having a private conversation. See, that's the thing, Mrs. Bennett. Your daughter owes me a lot of money. And I'm a patient man, but my investors? Not so much. So I'm going to need to come in and discuss payment options. Get off my property. One of the men behind him, younger, built like a boxer, cracked his knuckles. Vincent held up a hand to stop him. Mrs. Bennett, let's be reasonable. I'm here to help both of you. Jennifer has a solution to her little problem. Some paperwork that needs signing. I'm just here to make sure it gets done. She told you about the guardianship petition. Smart woman like you, of course you figured it out, which makes this easier. See, you can sign those power of attorney papers, Jennifer gets control of your assets, sells your house, and everybody wins. Except me. You'll be taken care of. Nice facility, 3 meals a day, bingo on Tuesdays. You're what, 70? 75? How many good years you got left anyway? I'm 68. Get off my property before I call the police. Vincent's smile vanished. You call the police, and my associate here takes a drive over to Clearwater Preparatory. That's where your granddaughter goes to school, right? Aisha? Cheerleading practice ends at 4. He can be there by 4:15. My blood ran cold. That's right, Vincent said, watching my face. We know everything about your family. So here's what's going to happen. You're going to invite us in. Jennifer's going to explain the paperwork. You're going to sign it. And then we all go our separate ways. Nobody gets hurt. Behind me, I heard Jennifer sobbing. Please, Mom. Please just sign it. I can't let them hurt Aisha. I looked at Vincent Kane, at his expensive suit and his cold eyes, at the 2 men behind him who probably had weapons under their jackets. Then I looked at the smoke detector mounted above my front door, the one with the camera inside that was recording everything, and I smiled. You made a mistake coming here, Mr. Kane. How's that? You just confessed to extortion, conspiracy to commit fraud, and threatening a minor, in a house with 4 active surveillance cameras. His face changed. Bullshit. Those are Jennifer's cameras. They were, Until I called the Tampa Police Department's Elder Abuse Unit 3 days ago. Detective Sarah Washington has been recording everything since Monday. That was a lie, a complete lie. The police weren't watching, but Vincent didn't know that. He looked up at the smoke detector, then at his associates. Check the house, now. The two men pushed past me. I heard them in my living room, my kitchen, dragging chairs around, ripping down the smoke detectors. Jennifer was screaming. I stayed by the door, my hand on my phone in my pocket. One of the men came back with all 4 detectors, crushed in his hands. They're just cameras, basic stuff, no police connection. Vincent looked at me, really looked at me, and he knew I'd been bluffing. Nice try, old woman. He pulled a gun from inside his jacket. Small, black, deadly. This is what happens to smart-ass old ladies who waste my time. Jennifer screamed. Vincent, no, please. Should have thought of that before she... Sirens, multiple sirens, getting louder, getting closer. Vincent's head snapped toward the street. 3 police cars were screaming up to my house, lights flashing. How? Vincent started. I pulled my phone out of my pocket, showed him the screen. The call timer showed 18 minutes and 37 seconds. Detective Sarah Washington. She's been listening to everything since you threatened my granddaughter. The confusion on Vincent's face would have been funny if there hadn't been a gun in his hand. I didn't need the cameras to be connected to the police, I said. I just needed you to threaten me in front of my daughter, whose phone has been recording in her purse this entire time. I texted Detective Washington the moment I saw your car pull up behind Jennifer's in my driveway. The front door burst open. Tampa Police! Drop the weapon! Drop it now! Detective Sarah Washington was a tall black woman in her 40s with her service weapon drawn and pointed at Vincent's head. Behind her, 4 uniformed officers flooded into my house. Vincent dropped the gun. His associates put their hands up. Vincent Kane, Detective Washington said, you're under arrest for aggravated assault, extortion, conspiracy to commit fraud, and threatening a minor. You have the right to remain silent. They cuffed all 3 of them, read them their rights, led them out to the patrol cars while my neighbors watched from their porches and front yards. Jennifer was still sitting at my kitchen table, sobbing into her hands. Detective Washington came back inside. Mrs. Bennett, you okay? I'm fine, Detective. That was either the bravest or the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I've been investigating fraud for 40 years. I know how to bluff a criminal. She smiled. We've been building a case on Kane for 8 months. This gives us everything we need. Recorded threats, extortion, the whole package. You just closed a major case for us. What about my daughter? Detective Washington looked at Jennifer. What about her? She's complicit in the guardianship fraud. She hired Kane's lawyers to draft the petition. She planted surveillance equipment in your home. She attempted to steal your assets. I looked at Jennifer, at my daughter who'd made terrible choices, who'd used my granddaughter, who'd tried to steal my life, but who'd also been backed into a corner by a predator. Detective, I said, my daughter made terrible choices, but she made them because Vincent Kane took advantage of her addiction. She needs help, not just punishment. That's very generous, Mrs. Bennett, but the district attorney will still file charges. Then I'll testify on her behalf. For treatment, not prison. Addiction is a disease. What she did was wrong, but destroying her won't help anyone, especially not my granddaughter. Detective Washington studied me for a long moment. You're a better woman than I would be. I'm just a mother who doesn't want to lose her daughter completely. After the police left, after the patrol cars and the handcuffs and the Miranda rights, it was just Jennifer and me in my kitchen. The smoke detectors were gone, crushed. Holes in my ceiling where they'd been mounted. Evidence bags and police tape and the smell of too many people in my house. Jennifer sat at the table, not crying anymore. Just empty. Mom, she said finally, why? Why what? Why did you help me, after everything I did to you? I sat down across from her. Because you're my daughter. Because Aisha needs her mother. Because your father would have wanted me to. I tried to destroy you. Yes. I used your granddaughter. Yes. I don't deserve your help. Probably not. I reached across the table, took her hand. She flinched like she couldn't believe I was touching her. But I'm giving it anyway, because that's what family does. Not enable, not excuse. but show up when it matters most." She started crying again. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so sorry." "I know you are, baby. I know." We sat there in my kitchen, holding hands across the table where 42 years of family dinners had been served, where birthday cakes had been cut, and homework had been done, and coffee had been made every morning since 1982. Outside, the sun was setting over Tampa. The police were gone. Vincent Kane was in custody. The guardianship petition would be dismissed. But my daughter was going to jail. Aisha was going to lose her mother. Our family was broken. And somehow, I had to find a way to put the pieces back together. The arraignment was on a Friday morning, 9 days after Vincent Kane had pulled a gun in my living room. I sat in the gallery of Courtroom 4B at the Hillsborough County Courthouse, wearing the navy blue dress I'd worn to James's funeral 5 years ago, the same dress I'd worn to every important occasion since: weddings, christenings, funerals. It felt appropriate for this, too. A kind of funeral for the daughter I thought I knew. Jennifer stood before Judge Patricia Morales in an orange jumpsuit, her hands cuffed in front of her. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. No makeup. She looked younger than 42. She looked like my little girl. "Mrs. Hayes," Judge Morales said, reading from the file in front of her, "you're charged with attempted fraud, elder financial exploitation, conspiracy to commit guardianship fraud, and as an accessory to extortion. How do you plead?" Jennifer's attorney, a public defender named Michael Chen, whispered something to her. "Guilty, Your Honor," Jennifer said, her voice barely audible. "To all charges." Judge Morales looked up. "You understand that by pleading guilty you waive your right to trial? That you could face up to 15 years in state prison?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Mr. Chen, I assume there's a plea agreement." "Yes, Your Honor. The state has agreed to recommend 18 months in county detention with mandatory addiction treatment, followed by 3 years supervised probation, in exchange for Mrs. Hayes' cooperation in the prosecution of Vincent Kane and his associates." The judge looked at Jennifer for a long moment. "Mrs. Hayes, I've read the victim impact statement from your mother, Clara Bennett. She's asked for leniency on your behalf. She's asked that you receive treatment instead of punishment. Do you understand how fortunate you are to have a mother who would advocate for you after what you tried to do to her?" "Yes, Your Honor." Jennifer's voice broke. "Every single day. Sentencing is set for 30 days from now. Until then, you'll remain in custody. Bailiff." They led Jennifer away. She looked back at me once as they took her through the side door. I nodded, just once, letting her know I was still here. In the hallway outside the courtroom, Detective Washington found me sitting on a bench. "Mrs. Bennett," she said, sitting down next to me, "you did the right thing. That victim impact statement probably saved your daughter from a decade in prison." "She's sick, Detective. Addicts don't need prison. They need help." "True. But what she did to you, most people wouldn't be so forgiving." "I'm not forgiving her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. I'm just choosing not to destroy her completely." "There's a difference." Detective Washington nodded. "Vincent Kane won't get the same consideration. We're charging him with RICO violations, extortion, aggravated assault, and about 20 other counts. He's looking at 25 to life. Good. We found evidence of 17 other victims, elderly people across Florida that his operation targeted through guardianship fraud schemes. Your daughter's case helped us connect the dots. In a way, she's helping a lot of people now. That gave me a small measure of comfort. Not much, but some. Aisha was waiting for me in the parking lot, sitting in my car. She'd turned 17 2 weeks ago. We'd celebrated with a small cake, just the two of us, in my kitchen. No party, no friends, just a grandmother and a granddaughter trying to figure out how to survive what came next. "How was it?" she asked as I got in the car. She pleaded guilty. 18 months if the judge accepts the plea deal. Aisha nodded, staring straight ahead through the windshield. "Is that a long time?" "Long enough." Will she be okay in there?" I looked at my granddaughter, at this beautiful, smart, kind girl who'd been used as a pawn in her mother's schemes, who'd installed those cameras thinking she was helping her grandmother, who'd been carrying guilt like a stone in her chest for 9 days. "Baby," I said, "your mama made terrible choices, but she's strong. She'll survive this." "It's my fault." Aisha's voice was small. "If I hadn't installed those cameras—" "No," I took her hand. You didn't know. You were trying to help. Your mother manipulated you. That's what addiction does. It turns good people into liars. It makes them use the people they love. I should have known. You're 17 years old. It's not your job to catch your mother in a fraud scheme. That was mine, and I did. We sat there in the parking lot for a long time, holding hands, not talking. Finally, Aisha said, "Grandma Clara, can I ask you something?" "Anything, baby." "Why did you help her? After everything she did?" I thought about that question. I'd been thinking about it for 9 days. "Because she's my daughter," I said finally. "Because I love her, even when I don't like her very much. Because your father is deployed and won't be home for 4 more months, and you need at least one parent who isn't in prison or halfway around the world. Because punishing her won't undo what she did. And because your grandfather would have wanted me to show mercy. What would Grandpa James say if he was here?" I smiled, remembering. He'd say, "Clara, you do what's right, even when it costs everything." That's what he always said. And showing mercy, giving your mother a chance at redemption, that's the right thing. Even though it costs me my peace, my trust, my sense of safety in my own home. Aisha squeezed my hand. "You're the strongest person I know." "I don't feel very strong, baby. I feel tired. Can we go home now?" "Yes, let's go home." 6 months later, the holes in my ceiling where the smoke detectors had been were finally patched and painted. It had taken me 6 months to be ready to fix them. 6 months of looking at those holes every day, reminding myself of what had happened, what my daughter had done. But last week, I'd finally called a handyman. Had him patch the holes, paint over them, install regular smoke detectors, the kind that don't have cameras, the kind that just detect smoke. It was a Thursday morning in November, 6 months to the day since I'd found that first camera. I was sitting on my back porch with a cup of coffee, watching the sun rise over my garden. The tomatoes were coming in nice this year. James had always loved my tomatoes. My phone rang. The county jail. "This is a collect call from Jennifer Hayes, an inmate at Hillsborough County Detention Facility. Will you accept the charges?" "Yes." There was a click, then Jennifer's voice. "Mom? I'm here, baby. I finished the 30-day residential addiction program. They're moving me to the work release facility next week." "That's good, Jennifer. That's real good. I wanted to tell you, I'm 90 days sober, 90 days without gambling. They gave me a coin in group therapy. I felt tears start to form. I'm proud of you." "You shouldn't be. Not after what I did." "I can be proud of your sobriety and angry about your choices at the same time. Both things can be true." She was quiet for a moment. "How's Aisha?" "She's good. Made honor roll again. She's talking to the guidance counselor about colleges. Thinking about pre-law." "Pre-law?" "Says she wants to help people like you. People who get in over their heads and need a second chance." Jennifer started crying. I could hear it through the phone. "Mom, I don't deserve her. I don't deserve either of you." "Probably not. But you're going to spend the rest of your life earning it back. That's how this works. You don't get forgiveness for free. You work for it. Every single day." "I will. I swear I will." "I know you will, baby." Can I see you? On visiting day?" I'd been avoiding this question for 6 months. Aisha had visited twice. I'd sent money for commissary. I'd written letters. But I hadn't gone to see her face to face. "Not yet," I said. "I'm not ready yet." "Okay." Her voice was small, but she didn't argue. "I understand. But I'm working on it. I'm seeing a therapist. Pastor Ruth recommended someone who specializes in family trauma. I'm trying to get to a place where I can look at you without seeing those cameras. Without remembering you trying to steal my home. I'll wait, however long it takes." After we hung up, I sat on my porch for another hour, drinking coffee and watching the sunrise. That afternoon, I drove to the Tampa Community Center on Bush Boulevard. Every Thursday at 2 o'clock, I led a support group for elder abuse survivors. There were 12 people in the group today, ranging in age from 62 to 87, men and women, Black, white, Hispanic, Asian. All of us united by one thing. Our own families had tried to steal from us. Dorothy Miller was there. The 74-year-old woman who'd called me 6 months ago after seeing my number on an AARP forum. Her nephew had installed a smart thermostat with a hidden camera, tried to have her declared incompetent so he could sell her house. She'd documented everything, called a lawyer, contacted the police. Her nephew was in jail now, serving 3 years. "How are you doing, Dorothy?" I asked as the group settled into their chairs in a circle. "Good days and bad days," she said. "But more good than bad now." "That's progress." We went around the circle. Everyone shared their updates. Robert, whose son had stolen $60,000 from his retirement account. Maria, whose daughter-in-law had forged her signature on a reverse mortgage. Thomas, whose brother had convinced him to sign over his veterans' benefits. Some were further along in healing. Some were still raw. All of them were survivors. "I want to talk today about forgiveness," I said when it was my turn. "Not because you owe it to the people who hurt you, but because holding on to hate is like drinking poison and expecting them to die." "My son doesn't deserve my forgiveness," Robert said. "He stole from me. He lied to me." "You're right. He doesn't deserve it. But forgiveness isn't for him. It's for you, so you can sleep at night, so you can move forward without carrying that weight." "Have you forgiven your daughter?" Dorothy asked. I thought about that. "No, not completely. Maybe not ever. But I'm trying to get to a place where I can remember the good times without being destroyed by the bad. Where I can love her from a distance without trusting her with my life again. That's not forgiveness exactly, but it's something." Maria spoke up. "My therapist calls it acceptance without approval. You accept what happened. You accept that it can't be undone, but you don't approve of it. You don't excuse it." "That's good," I said. "I like that." We talked for another hour, shared strategies for healing, supported each other through the hard days, made plans to meet again next week. As everyone was leaving, a new face appeared in the doorway. A woman, maybe 65, Latino, with nervous eyes and hands that wouldn't stop fidgeting. Is this the support group for elder abuse?" "It is. I'm Clara Bennett. Come on in." She sat down slowly. "I'm Rosa Gutierrez. I'm 63. I think my son-in-law is trying to steal my house. He installed security cameras last month, and I found something strange in one of them. A friend told me about this group." And there it was, the same story, the same pattern, the helpful family member, the surveillance, the slowly built case for incompetence. "Tell me everything," I said. For 45 minutes, she did. When she finished, I gave her my phone number, the name of my lawyer, Detective Washington's direct line. "Document everything," I told her. "Take photos. Tell no one until you have evidence. And call me anytime, day or night." "Why would you help me? You don't even know me." "Because 6 months ago, I was exactly where you are. Alone, confused, wondering if my own family was trying to destroy me. Someone helped me then. Now I help others." She hugged me before she left. Held on tight, like I was the only solid thing in a world that had tilted sideways. That night, Aisha and I made dinner together. James's recipe for pot roast, the one he used to make every Sunday after church. "Grandma," Aisha said as she chopped carrots, "I've been thinking about something." "What's that, baby?" "When Mom gets out, where will she live?" I'd been thinking about that too. "The court order says she can't live here, not for at least 3 years, not until she completes probation." "But where will she go?" "There's a halfway house in Clearwater for women recovering from addiction. She can live there, work, rebuild her life." "Will she be alone?" I looked at my granddaughter. "Are you asking if we're going to abandon her?" "I guess so." "No, baby, we're not going to abandon her. We're going to support her recovery. We're going to visit her, help her find a job, be there when she needs us. But we're also going to have boundaries, because loving someone doesn't mean letting them destroy you." Aisha nodded slowly. "That makes sense." We finished making dinner in comfortable silence. Ate at the kitchen table where 42 years of meals had been shared, where secrets had been uncovered, where my daughter had tried to steal my life, but also where my granddaughter and I were building something new, something honest, something that might survive. 1 year later, Jennifer's release day was a Tuesday in May, exactly 1 year after I'd found the first camera. Aisha and I picked her up from the work release facility at 9 in the morning. She was waiting outside with a small duffel bag. Everything she owned in the world. She'd lost weight. Her face was thinner, older, but her eyes were clear, sober. She got in the back seat of my car. "Hey, Mom. Hey, Aisha." "Hey, Mama," Aisha said, her voice shaky. I didn't say anything, just pulled out of the parking lot and drove. We didn't go to Jennifer's new apartment at the halfway house. Not yet. Instead, I drove to Cypress Point Cemetery. "Where are we going?" Jennifer asked. "You'll see." I parked near the oak tree where James was buried, led them both to his grave. The headstone read, "James Bennett, beloved husband and father, 1945 to 2021. Do what's right, even when it costs everything." We stood there, the three of us, 3 generations of Bennett women, broken and healing and trying. "Your father and I bought this plot together," I said, "back in 1998. We knew we wanted to be buried here under this oak tree. We used to come here on Sunday afternoons, walk through the cemetery, plan what our headstone would say." "I remember," Jennifer whispered. "He chose those words. Do what's right, even when it costs everything. That's how he lived his whole life, and that's what I'm trying to do now." I turned to look at my daughter, really look at her, for the first time in a year. "Helping you cost me my peace, my sense of security, my ability to trust you, maybe ever again. But it was still the right thing to do, because your father would have wanted it, because Aisha needed it, because somewhere under all the lies and the addiction and the terrible choices, you're still my daughter." Jennifer started crying. "Mom, I know you're sorry. You've said it 100 times. Sorry doesn't undo what you did. It doesn't fix the holes in my ceiling or the fear I felt when Vincent Kane pulled a gun in my living room. Sorry is just words. Then what do you want from me? I want you to live differently. I want you to go to your meetings every day. I want you to work your program. I want you to rebuild a relationship with your daughter based on honesty. I want you to spend the rest of your life being the person your father raised you to be. That's what I want." "I will. I swear I will." "Don't swear to me. Swear to him." I pointed at James's headstone. "Swear to your father that you'll live by his words, that you'll do what's right, even when it costs everything." Jennifer knelt down in front of the grave, put her hand on the headstone. "Daddy, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I became someone you wouldn't recognize, someone who hurt the people I love. But I'm going to be better. I'm going to make you proud again. I swear it." Aisha knelt down next to her mother, put her arm around her shoulders, and I stood there, watching my daughter and granddaughter at my husband's grave, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a year. Hope. Not trust. Not yet. Maybe not ever completely. But hope. Present day. I'm 70 years old now. 2 years since I found those cameras. 2 years since my daughter tried to steal my life. Jennifer lives in a small apartment in Clearwater. She works at a call center, makes $12 an hour, takes the bus to work every day. She's been sober for 2 years, 3 months, and 17 days. She counts every single one. She comes to Sunday dinner once a month. We eat pot roast and green beans and talk about safe things. The weather, Aisha's college applications, the tomatoes in my garden. We don't talk about the cameras. We don't talk about Vincent Kane or guardianship petitions or the 18 months she spent in jail. We're not close. Maybe we never will be again. But we're speaking. We're civil. We're something. Aisha is 18 now, starting college in the fall. University of Florida, pre-law, full scholarship. She wants to be a lawyer who helps families in crisis, who advocates for the elderly, who gives people second chances. She still comes to see me every Sunday. We work in the garden together. I teach her how to grow tomatoes, how to can preserves, how to make James's pot roast. We talk about everything. Her future, her fears, her hopes. She's stronger than both Jennifer and me put together. Michael came home from deployment 6 months ago. He got the email I'd sent him, the video explaining everything. He divorced Jennifer, but he comes to Sunday dinner too, sometimes. Sits at the table with his ex-wife and his daughter and his mother. And we're not a normal family, but we're something. I still run the support group every Thursday. We've helped 43 people in the past 2 years. 43 families who caught the fraud before it destroyed them, who documented the evidence, who got lawyers and protected themselves. Rosa Gutierrez, the woman who came to that first meeting, is my co-leader now. Her son-in-law is serving 5 years for elder fraud. She uses her experience to help others. That's what we do. We survive, then we help others survive. This morning I was sitting on my back porch with my coffee, watching the sunrise, when my phone rang. Unknown number. Mrs. Bennett, my name is Patricia Wong. I'm 71 years old. I got your number from the AARP forum. I think my nephew is trying to steal my house. He installed a new thermostat last week, and I found something strange inside it. I smiled. Tell me everything. And she did. After we hung up, I sat on my porch and thought about the past 2 years. About cameras hidden in smoke detectors. About daughters who betray you and granddaughters who save you. About the difference between forgiveness and acceptance. About doing what's right, even when it costs everything. People ask me if I regret what happened to Jennifer. If I regret turning her in. If I regret the 1.5 years she spent in jail. The answer is complicated. Do I wish my granddaughter still had her mother at home? Yes. Do I wish my family wasn't broken? Yes. Do I wish I could trust my daughter again? Every single day. But do I regret protecting myself from someone who would have taken everything I had and left me helpless in a state facility? Do I regret standing up for my right to live independently in my own home? Do I regret teaching my granddaughter that love has to have boundaries? No, not for a single second. At 70 years old, I've learned that the strongest thing you can do isn't always forgiveness. Sometimes the strongest thing is saying no, is protecting yourself, is drawing a line and refusing to let anyone cross it, even family, especially family. I've learned that family is supposed to protect each other, but when family becomes the threat, you have the right to protect yourself. I've learned that you can love someone from a distance, that you can hope for their redemption without trusting them with your life, that both things can be true at the same time. And I've learned that at 70 years old, after 42 years in this house, after burying a husband I loved with all my heart, after raising a daughter who tried to destroy me, I've earned the right to live my remaining years in peace, making my own decisions, sleeping in my own bed, drinking coffee on my own porch as the sun comes up. Nobody gets to take that from me. Not for gambling debts, not for greed, not for any reason. I keep one of those smoke detectors on my desk. The first one I found, with the camera still inside. Disconnected now, but visible if you know where to look. Every morning I glance at it. Every morning it reminds me to pay attention, to notice what doesn't belong, to trust my instincts when something feels wrong. Because the people who prey on the elderly count on us being trusting, forgiving, slow to act. They count on family loyalty being stronger than self-preservation. They're wrong. If you're listening to this story and something in your life feels wrong, if a family member is suddenly too helpful, too interested in your finances, too eager to get you to sign paperwork, trust that feeling. Document everything. Take photos. Keep records. Tell someone you trust. Get a lawyer. Call the police if you need to. Don't wait until it's too late. Because the worst betrayals don't come from strangers. They come from the people who know exactly how to hurt us, who know our weaknesses, who count on our love to blind us to their crimes. And the strongest thing you can do isn't forgiveness. Sometimes the strongest thing is protecting yourself. I look at Aisha's photo on my mantle, my granddaughter who was used as a pawn without knowing it, who still comes every Sunday to learn about life and how to be strong. Who's going to change the world someday? That's what I fought for, that relationship, that future, the chance to watch her graduate, get married, become whoever she's meant to be. Jennifer tried to take all of that from me. She failed because I paid attention, because I trusted my gut, because I did what was right, even when it cost me my daughter. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever discovered someone in your family wasn't who you thought they were? Have you faced a situation where you had to choose between loyalty and survival? Drop your story in the comments below. Let's support each other. And remember, staying vigilant isn't paranoia. It's wisdom. At 70 years old, living alone in Tampa, Florida, in the house I've called home for 42 years, I've learned that wisdom is worth more than gold, and peace is worth fighting for. Thank you for listening to my story. And if you're out there, scared and alone, wondering if your family is trying to hurt you, you're not alone. There are people who will help. People who understand. People who survived and want to help you survive, too. Call someone. Today, your life is worth protecting, even from the people who are supposed to love you most.